Okay, welcome to the mini paint challenge. It is week 5 of the mini paint challenge. I took a picture of this cute little Rubik's cube today, so we're going to be painting this a Rubik's cube. And if you are new here, this is kind of the how to join the challenge. Make sure you tag me at Meg and Josol Art on social media. And use the hashtag mini paint challenge either like on Facebook or Instagram. That's probably the easiest place to post. And yeah, then you can join in and paint with me. The reference photos are up on my website to download. So if you go into my bio, there's a mini paint challenge link, and then you can find all the reference photos there. You just kind of scroll down or click the little button on the website with reference photos. Last week, we did this really adorable little candy stars, and they turned out so cute, and I'm so excited to do the Rubik's Cube today. So I'm gonna switch to the next scene, and we've got our little paint mixing thing set up here. I've already got some colors laid out today because I had them from last week, so I figured I would just kind of go through the colors, point at each of them, so then you can try to get similar colors on your palette if you'd like to follow along. If not, just welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. So we've got titanium white here, and then we've got alizarin crimson. I've got cadmium orange, and then cadmium yellow light. I've also got some sap green. This one I think was phthalo turquoise. Yeah, phthalo turquoise. This one's cerulean blue. I'm using the cerulean blue hue for that one. And then I've also got ultramarine blue. That one is quinacridone violet, and then we've also got quinacridone magenta as well. So I think that should be enough colors for today. They were just kind of from last week. I end up putting my palette in the freezer, and it keeps the paints lasting longer. I'm using oil paints, so it won't work for acrylics, but oil painting you can use a bunch. Those are all in the description, slightly out of order. Yes, my husband put them in the description for everyone, so he will, I think they're all in there. I think we got all of them. We maybe didn't use quinacridone magenta last time, but I had it on there from another project. So that one might need to be added, but I think all of them should be in the description now. But we should be able to get started. So I've got this little arrow here so I can kind of drag it around for you guys and show you what colors are mixing. Now this one is going to be obviously quite colorful because we've got a Rubik's Cube all scrambled up. So we will start, I'm thinking today we will do just like the white background, because leaving it white will be just a little simpler. I've been doing more colorful backgrounds lately, so I figured we'd do another white background again because I did have a lot of people wanting to do white backgrounds. So we will start with, let's start with green. I like green. I'm thinking we'll start with the sap green here. And now all I'm doing when I mix colors is you want to have the reference photo available so you can color match as you're going. And I was saying this last week, if you're having a hard time with putting colors on your paper, make sure you tone your paper with like another color. A lot of people do underpaintings. I like to paint on the white because I like to have the highlights and stuff show through. But it's up to you if you want to try it out. It does make it easier if the paper is a slightly darker color other than just white. Okay, we will match up and see. So we definitely want that lighter. I'm not trying to match the colors exactly, but I want them pretty close because I want that like nostalgic feel of like, you know, a traditional Rubik's Cube. So let's see. Let's lighten that up with a little bit of white. Try not to add too much white. Sap green is like also a mix of a bunch of different colors. I should mention that. because some of these other colors are just like single pigments, but the sap green I was saying last week is what Bob Ross uses, so he's the one who got me on using sap green. I think he got a lot of people onto using sap green. It's such a great color. I would actually like to add a little bit of the phthalo turquoise in there. You could also just add a little bit of blue, but it's on more of the like bluish green side, this color. So I'm gonna go for that. When I'm mixing, let's see how close that is. That's actually pretty much what we want there. Going for those darker colors. Okay, I'm gonna put them along the side. Now, we don't have any green, so like the Rubik's Cube, here, let me use my little arrow. The Rubik's Cube on this side and the top are both in the shadow area, so the colors are going to be a little bit more desaturated, and then this front side is where the light is hitting, so the values are a little bit up. These are like darker value. Oh, I'm making the arrow bigger. These are darker values over here in the back, closer to the shadow. So we're gonna mix like two colors for the ones that are in the light, just so we get a little bit of slightly variation. You can kind of see, especially in the yellow here, that this is more saturated and this one has a more like deeper value and desaturated look to it. So we're gonna kind of work on that with a few of the colors. That's why I figured this one would be a really good one for beginners, so then they can really get those shapes down. And also, if you're having a hard time with drawing the reference image from scratch, just go on your computer, blow it up to the exact size of your paper and trace it, because these types of lines are a little bit trickier to get, like the perspective. So I would suggest definitely tracing it if you're a beginner to start, and then you can work on like more perspective learning at some point. But we're just focusing on like the color mixing and the painting for these. I've already done the sketch. I have here, I'll show you. I have like a little sketch over here already. So it's just very basic. I just drew the lines that we needed, and then we're gonna go off of that. But we're mixing kind of, I would say like these darker areas right now. Keep the arrow there. This is such a great idea. I love this arrow that my husband suggested. It's so great. Okay, next I'm thinking we should maybe let's do red. I really like red. So we're gonna use some alizarin crimson. And this is definitely gonna need to be on more of like the darker maroon purpley side. So I'm gonna add a little bit of ultramarine blue to it, just to deepen the color a bit. This will just make it slightly darker. Let's see. Now that's like really, really, really deep, and we want to lighten that a bit. So we're going to add a bit of white to it. Just a little bit. Don't add that much. Let me see. Just add very, very little amounts, because we still want the value to be pretty dark in this one. And it's hard to come back after you add white to it. You'll end up adding way too much paint afterwards. Okay, let's see. That's like looking pretty good. Let me compare it to the reference photo. Honestly, that's exactly what we're looking for. Perfect. Okay. And then, so the colors also might look slightly different on screen. We determined last time that the cameras aren't like, the cameras and then your screen versus my screen are going to be a little bit different. So definitely play around with like, that's why I added the reference photos on my website, so you can really get those colors down on your end. But if you mix slightly like me, on stream like I'm doing right now, it should end up looking better than what the screens are telling us. It's hard with the screen colors. So we're gonna do green. Oh, we already did green. I just really love green. Green is my favorite color. Okay, we will do, let's do orange next. Yeah. So this one is cadmium orange. Now you could also just mix orange with like alizarin crimson and yellow. That works too. I really like cadmium orange because it's like nice and bright, and it's a single. No, I don't think it's a single pigment actually. But yeah, it's just one pigment. It looks like. So it's like naturally found orange in nature, I guess. I got to do more research on pigments. I feel like that's like one thing that I don't quite understand is like where all of the different pigments come from. I'd like to have like more understanding and knowledge on pigments and like the history and stuff behind different pigments. I like all that type of history stuff, so I'm sure I will do my own research at some point. Okay, so obviously this is going to be way too bright for the orange color. It does err on the side of this red, so I am going to add red to it. And we are going to have to desaturate this color on the side ones, but first we're going to do the orange that's in the front here. This little front orange here, if I can get my arrow to point at it. We're going to try to do that one first, and then we'll desaturate it from there. So that one actually has quite a bit of white to it. I'm going to put a little bit of this paint aside, and we're just going to add a bit of white to this one. I guess I don't want to add too much white. I've got to compare the color first. So we're going to compare that. We definitely need it lighter, so we're going to add more white in there. Oh, what are the cats doing? They're causing trouble over there. She's been jumping around trying to eat like our people food lately. Keep trying to, what is that? I've got a hair in there. A cat hair, of course. Okay, let's match that up to the orange in the highlight area. Now that's definitely still too bright. We've got I'm making my white all messy with the orange color. Okay, let me see that. That's still too bright. And that's why we start out with not a lot of the main color, because we're going to have to lighten this actually quite a bit. We'll maybe even need more titanium white on our palette so that we can mix the other colors. Go through a lot of titanium white. Well, that's getting closer to what we want. Okay, let's try that. That's pretty good. Okay. Now I'm just going to put this over on the side here while we mix the other color. So I'm going to take off some of this white into our mixing area so we don't mix a ton of white. That's why I like having this rag here. This is just an old cut up towel. And an old cut up towel works real well. Okay, so we're going to definitely have to make this orange desaturated. So we're going to add a little bit of the sap green. I like to add sap green into things, especially orange, to desaturate it. Add a little bit, getting a little bit of yellow, actually. That'll lighten it. Yellow's another great one. If you don't want to add white to things, yellow, in certain colors anyway, is really good for lightening the pigment a bit, just to bring down the value. Now, we're still going to need more red, I think, in this one. See, a little bit of green in there again. It's getting closer. I'm just adding, yeah, let's see how close we can get this. We're still gonna look a little bit of yellow in there, I think. Just keep adding those colors as we need them. I'm gonna start adding a little bit of ultramarine blue as well. I noticed that there is a little bit of purpley tones in there. If I add in the green, we're adding small bits of blue, but by adding directly just the blue, that's going to really help give us the color that we want. That is a lot closer. I would say we even want to add a little bit more yellow to that. This color definitely won't look like traditional orange on your palette, but once you put it against the other colors, it will give the illusion of the deeper orange that you're used to on an Rubik's Cube. Pretty good there. Okay, I don't mind that. So that's good, and then we've got this highlight one, so I'm going to put the darker one first. The darker one first. And then I'm going to put this one. I'm thinking maybe we should put the lighter ones right beside it so it's easier to see. This is kind of like the line for the lighter side. And this is for the shadow area there. Okay, we are going to work on, I guess the blue is all in the highlight area, so we could work on that. We've also got, what do we got? Yellow is a big one. Let's work on yellow next. So I'm going to grab a big thing of yellow. I didn't worry about cleaning this too much because we're going to desaturate the color anyway. It kind of helped us desaturate it a bit, which is fine. So that's a very bright yellow compared to it. The yellow has actually got a bit of white in it. I'm going to take the color aside again because we've got some in the dark area and then we've got some in the lighter area. So we're going to mix one with a little bit of white first to get the lighter. I guess my arrow's already there, so we're mixing that one right now. That yellow in the lighter area, we can actually add a little bit more white there. Oh, I should also mention that I've got like this little, it might be hard to see on the palette, but there's a little dab of the solvent-free gel by Gamblin, and I like to use either that as my medium or a little bit of, I just have a little bit of linseed oil in this jar here, and that helps to thin the paint in certain areas if you want it to spread a little bit smoother. There is 6 Rubik Cube colors. I wonder how many you'll have on the palette. I don't know if I got all of the colors in frame? I think I did. Did I miss a color? I think I got all of them in frame. I tried to make sure all of the Rubik's colors were in frame. Got this little cube here. And you can see it in person. You could actually do it as a still life too, where you set up the Rubik's Cube and mix it from life. I haven't done many from life paintings just because it's hard to like have space to like set up a whole studio thing. Okay, we're gonna need to grab a bit more white. I had to count the colors. Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping to get like every color on there if I could. Okay, so just a bit more titanium white on the palette there. These are kind of like the colors I use all the time, so you'll see me mostly using this color palette. There's maybe like a few extra I have here, but I haven't used them in the paintings so far. I also have like a manganese violet and an emerald green I like to use sometimes. The cadmium green I like using sometimes too. But I have my go-to colors, and you really just need kind of like a small amount of base colors because you can pretty much mix any colors from this palette here that I have. Any extra colors are just a bonus if you want like something pre-mixed already, or if you really like using a certain color all the time. It's just nice to have it like pre-mixed. But this is a good kind of base palette. I guess I'm probably, some people like to use cobalt teal. That's another one that you can't really like recreate with these colors very much. I don't actually have cobalt teal. It's one of the colors that I've been meaning to get. Let's see. Okay, let's match that color up now. I would say we gotta add a little bit of green in there. Just a little bit of sap green in there. Just getting a little closer. I'd actually take more of the original color, mix it in, add a little bit more of sap green. I said I wasn't going to match the colors exactly, and then I decided I wanted to match the colors exactly because I want it to look maybe a little bit more realistic. Okay, I'm going to put this on the side, and we're going to work on this color now, which is in the darker areas. We're definitely going to have to desaturate that going into the darker areas. I'm just cleaning it off because I don't want white in it. Just because this one is going to be quite a bit darker. Okay, let me compare the color again. Definitely need a little bit of green in there. Trust me, it needs green. It might look very weird, but when you hold it up, it will, look, that's perfect right there. It looks very green on my palette, but I promise it is gonna look more yellow when it's against all of the other colors. That's the tricky thing, and why I suggest beginners really do the underpainting. It is a lot easier to apply a color like this and be like, oh yeah, that's yellow, when it like clearly looks green here, but you put it up here and you're like, oh, it matches the yellow. So I'm going to put the shadow area, so this is the shadow area one again, and then I put the one that's in the highlight area, or the light, And we're definitely missing a blue. Now the blue and, okay, so the white is the last one I think that has crossover between the two. 2, 3, 4. What am I missing? Red, yellow. Yeah, just like white and blue at this point. Okay. So let's do the white since we move the Rubik's Cube over. I'm just going to clean off this part of the palette again. And we're going to work on, start with white. This is going to be way too bright. It's actually, so in the highlight color, it has a little bit of blue. Add the very tiniest amount of cerulean blue. This pigment goes a long way. I was saying last time, like I still have a lot of cerulean blue left. I mean, I paint tiny, but like this tube alone has lasted me for 2 years, 2+ years now. And it's still going strong. Don't need a lot of that color. So use sparingly. That's looking a lot closer. A little bit more blue. Almost went a little too much with that, so I'm going to add a bit more white. See, it's easy to go overboard with the blue. Let's try that. Definitely went a little overboard with the blue. There. Okay. It's okay, we're just going to have lots of this color. Okay. And then we are, so that's pretty good for the lighter sections. I'm just going to put it over to the side. And we've got this color, so I'm move my arrow. We're doing the white kind of over on the edge here. Now we've got kind of like a purpley tone in there, so I'm going to add a bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of alizarin crimson to it. This is going to look super purple, but we're going to tone it down with a little bit of the sap green again. Oh, not that much sap green. That's a lot of sap green. Okay. Let's compare that. I might have went a little too purple with that. Yeah, I went a little too purple, so I'm going to put that over there. And I'm going to take white with just a little bit of the purple. Sometimes you need to make kind of that color before you can get the color you want. Almost like a transition mixing color, where you spot the colors you want and then you go back in and lighten it. So a little bit of green in this. That's a lot closer. So we just need a little bit of that purpley color we mixed with more green tones. And that's pretty close. Yeah, I officially reached 2,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, which is pretty crazy. Thank you for subscribing and being here, everyone. It's been like a crazy year because I feel like last year my growth has been crazy on like all the platforms, and just seeing how much everyone really like enjoys painting with me and the mini painting series and stuff that I'm doing. I'm glad you guys are all here with me. Wasn't that way a week ago. Yeah, it's nice to see it reflected on the channel now. Actually gonna go in and add a little bit more white. What to? It's so close to what we want. I feel like it just needs like a little bit of the cerulean blue as well. Okay, let's try that. Bit more of the cerulean blue. Oh, hubby's down here. Can you make me like a tea or something?
What kind of tea?
Still got that Christmas tea. Some or I could have peppermint tea.
Do you want it in the teacup? Or just like, or
yeah.
the pot, I mean?
Yeah, in my teacup.
The Alice in Wonderland one?
Yeah, with the teapot. Okay. Thanks, hon. Okay, we've got the white there, and then we're also going to take this lighter one for the highlight area. And now we're going to work on the blue. So I'm going to put this extra like purple color I made over here. Don't know if we'll use that, but maybe we'll use it in a different painting another day. I have another palette in the freezer of like random mixed colors, and I try to kind of use them on that. Okay, so for the blue, we are going to start out with, I'm going to start out with ultramarine blue. We can lighten it from there. So when you lighten ultramarine blue, let me show you. It's going to be very bright. It's like bright and kind of a little purpley even. And that is not going to match. So you want to put a little bit of cerulean blue in there. Not too crazy on the cerulean, like I said. And then we're going to try to match that up again and see. So that's obviously too dark when we match it up. Or at least mine is definitely obviously very dark. I'm going to add quite a bit of white to it just to really bring it down in value quite a bit, because it was like way too dark. We're going to match this up and see how close it is. So we definitely could use, let me see, let's match it up again. Okay. I would say we could add a little bit of red in there to make it more purpley.
Couldn't stop from beeping. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's probably not super loud, honey. I hope not, anyway. Gotta have our tea. Been trying to drink more water. I should have a quick water break. Maybe you need to remind me on stream to be drinking my water.
It's a good thing I came down. Whenever you're ready, it's right here.
Oh, thank you.
I don't really know where else to put it. I'm gonna go back upstairs now.
Got my little, I shouldn't keep it too close to my paint stuff, but look how cute it is. It's my friend Robin's like little teacup, and she let us keep it for safekeeping over here because I just love it so much. It's such a cute, like, look at it, a little Alice in Wonderland teapot, and then like the cup fits like right underneath. It keeps the cup warm. It's so cute. So I will let my tea steep. He made me peppermint tea, I think. Is that what I said? Peppermint is my favorite. Peppermint tea. And then in my water bottle, I've just got electrolytes, because peppermint, yes. Oh, thanks, Anne. Okay. This color is actually looking like pretty close. I'm like pretty happy with that. I might have like just a little bit more white. Say I'm happy with it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, let me just add a little bit more. But we're trying to get all of the front colors, that like lighter tone. You can kind of see the difference as we're making them. So these are a lot darker for the shadows, and then we've got these brighter colors in the front here. And then we'll work on next the like darker parts in the Rubik's Cube. So this is part of the light one. The blue one, we don't have it on the darker side at all, so we'll just put it with the lighter ones. And then I think I got all the colors now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now for the darker areas, you could use black if you want. I was saying that I don't really like using black, but I do sometimes if it's like an unnatural black. So I have an ivory black that just came with like a base set a few years ago, and I use it sometimes. But I try to use purple if I can, because a really deep purple just, I don't know, it adds a little bit of flair to the color scheme. I just feel it's nice to like work with purple. So I think I'm gonna do purple for this one. So my favorite way to mix purple is taking a little bit of alizarin crimson, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and we're gonna mix it together. Make a dark purple. I need a little bit more alizarin crimson in there. A little bit more of that one on the palette. I use quite a bit of alizarin. It's getting low. I actually need to replenish probably alizarin crimson and ultramarine soon. I'm impressed though, they've lasted a while. Like I started oil painting 2 years ago now, and a lot of my colors are still have them. The only ones I've had to replace are yellow and white so far. Yeah, yellow and white are the two colors because I use those the most. So I always grab like a big tube of white. So yeah, I'm liking that. That'll be good. And now you can kind of see in the dark areas. I'm gonna move my mouse. But if you get the reference photo from the website and zoom into the reference photo, you'll see that there's kind of like darker areas like really deep in like the slits of the cube. And then as it comes closer to the colors, we've actually got like highlights going on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put this to the side a little bit here. I'm going to take this color, just a little bit of it, and we're going to make a transition color for the edges. And it's going to be like, I'm trying to make it look a little bit purpley, but if you used the ivory black, if you lightened it up with a bit of white, it would turn closer to that color. But I'm going to lighten it up. And then the darker parts of the Rubik's Cube will be kind of a purpley color. I just think it will be fun to add a bit of purple in it. And it's like a little bit less realistic that way, which is nice. More of those fun colors in there. Okay, I'm not matching up the color at this point, I'm matching up the value. So I'm just comparing it to the lighter parts I'm talking about in the black area. And the value is pretty close with that purple. So I'm pretty happy with that. There's a very small amount of it, so I'm not going to mix a lot of it. Just a very tiny amount. And now we're also going to mix highlights in the purple area too. So I'm going to take quite a bit of white here. And there's already a little bit of purple on my palette, so I'm going to mix it with the purple that's already there. And that should give us the highlights that we want on the black areas. Now, we do have a little bit of highlights in each of the colors as well. Like, if you look very closely in some of these colors, we have like highlights along the edges here where the light is kind of hitting just the edge of the colors still. And so we already mixed some of these colors for it in those kind of like highlight areas. The only one we don't have highlighty colors for is red and green, so we could mix some highlights, or we could just add a little bit of white to that to tone it down, or to raise what am I talking about? I can't come up with the word right now. Value. Raise the value up a bit and make it lighter. That's it. Okay, let's finish mixing this highlight color. Distracting myself with that. Okay, so we've got these colors here. Now we're going to put them on our palette. I am going to set them, I think I will set them closer to the bottom here, just so we can mix these colors a little bit. Are you going to keep the background color? No, so I'm just going to use the white of the paper as the background. That's kind of my plan today. I'm going to work on the shadow color next. Almost thinking like I might want to just make the shadow color like purpley. I don't know why. I'm feeling like all the purpley colors today. I don't know. I could go and grab like the black. Maybe I will mix the black too so you guys can see what the ivory black looks like, and then decide when I'm painting if I actually want to use it or not. So I'll just put a little ivory black on the side there. Now I'm going to use this for the shadow color. I'm going to add a little bit of white in there. Gives us a nice gray base to start out with for the shadow. Color is pretty close already to that color. Yeah, I would say the color is pretty close there. And then in the shadow, if you look really closely, kind of on the side here, it lightens up a little bit because there's a reflection from another light. The light bounces sometimes in the shadow and creates like little patterns. Sometimes you can get kind of like double shadows and stuff going on. So this is the darker part of the shadow. And then I'm also going to do a lighter part of the shadow. me see. Yeah, I think I'll try using the ivory black for the shadow in this one. Do it with some of my other ones sometimes. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so we made a transition color there. And then what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of titanium white as well. And I'm just going to put that here just for blending purposes later on when we're mixing. Now, I'm gonna readjust my cloth here. I'm gonna clean that portion off in case we need to mix anything else while we're in the middle. I think we should have all the colors that we need now to start the painting. So that didn't take us too long to mix everything up. And I am going to transition to the main painting scene now. Hey, welcome to the stream. I'm just getting into the main painting. Thanks for joining. I'm going to, I think, move my camera now over because I'm moving over to my easel now. So let me move my camera over. You'll be able to see the little kitty tree as I move it over. That's our little cat tree there. And you can kind of see I'm going to film a time lapse for this as well. Trying to get that out of frame. There's so many cords. I hope I'm not moving that. Okay, let's see. The camera only moves if I go to the back a little bit. Okay, so I'm more in the frame over here now. That's good. Not as delicious as the donut I watched last night, but excited. Yeah, so we're doing this super tiny mini Rubik's Cube. I'm hoping it brings some nostalgia to everyone. And I figured it would just be fun to do something kind of colorful for the new year. But that donut painting, yeah, I really love that donut painting. Me and my husband both painted that donut, and when we saw the reference photo, we were like, yeah, we definitely have to paint that. It was actually one of the, it might have been one of the paid reference photos on Canva. They have some really good reference photos, and I just like flip through them sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I really want to paint that. I have kind of a habit of painting food because it's just so delicious. I'm just getting the time-lapse camera and then my shorts camera set up right now. I like to use my phone to film shorts kind of on the side. Less drooling now, exactly. Not as drooly here. We've got, okay. Got all these cameras because I really want to film as many angles as I can for you guys, because I know I know a lot of you have found me like through like my shorts content and stuff. So shorts seem to perform really well. So it's nice to, okay, we're gonna add a little bit more light on here. Got my big lights here to kind of add a bit more light into our frame. So I should be able to start the time lapse there. Now we've got our colors over here. I'm gonna open up a little container of linseed oil as well. And I like to clean my paintbrush off with this, so I'll like dip my brush in there and then kind of clean it off on this cut up towel that I have. I personally like to start out with these flat ones. They're called Josol blenders. I use the Princeton Velvet Touch series brushes. For the most part, I really want to try those Rosemary & Co brushes too. I've been meaning to buy some of those. I had to do math equations, got like 10 cents per right answer. Oh, what's that? Daily motivation to earn myself a cube back. And in the 80s. You answer math equations? Okay, what am I doing? I am going to, I'm going to take a sip of water before we start painting. I do have to kind of use my little eraser. I'm going to use my gummy eraser. I have the gummy eraser here. Put it in the big frame there. So this is a gummy eraser, and I use it to take off a little bit of, well, just a little bit of the graphite. Yeah, I was bad at math, so Dad thought I put more effort in it that way, practicing. Okay. Good motivational tool. I think most kids like money. Our son definitely likes money. He's a big fan of any sort of money he can get. I actually didn't mind math in school. It was like one of the things I was decently good at, and then all the other subjects I wasn't the best at, other than art. And I really liked my grade 12 English teacher. He was just so lovely. I still say he's my favorite teacher to this day. He really helped me enjoy like writing and reading and just enjoying English. English was never one of my favorite subjects until he came around. So it just takes like that one teacher, and then you can kind of start enjoying something. Same with like my art teachers. I do appreciate his effort. Yeah, back I wasn't really fond of that approach. Just wanted to have that cube. Yeah. Yeah, you try. You try as a parent, right? Try to find any way that you can. The one thing we're struggling with our child right now is getting him to clean up after himself. But I think all kids don't really want to clean, right? We're working on it. Okay, I got quite a bit of the pigment off. The graphite off. I want to take the graphite a bit off just because you don't want the graphite to get into your paints, especially the lighter color paints. But that's why I kind of put the lines in the darker areas rather than in like the lighter sections. I didn't want to shade too much because it mixes especially into the yellow quite a bit. So it's harder to cover up the yellow, or it's harder to cover up the graphite with the yellow paint. Okay, so gotta make our first brush stroke now on the painting. Setting up this camera. Okay, we will start with the blender brush. Okay, let's maybe work, I would say, with the darker lines, and then, no, actually, I want to do the colors first. I think it would just be fun to do the color. Sitting back for now, watching and listening. Thanks for hanging out and being here. And we will get this Rubik's Cube started now. You came perfect timing for watching the actual painting and listening. We just mixed all the colors. So I'm going to start out with the darker colors first. I'm going to work with yellow first. I don't know why I picked yellow, but I decided I wanted to start out with yellow. And I'm going to try to just match it exactly. Keep the colors where they are on the cube picture. And then we'll go in with the darker colors after. I just didn't want the purple color to bleed in with everything else. So we'll go in with the purple with kind of like a liner brush afterwards. And hopefully we don't get too much bleeding of colors into the main ones. Now, like I said, this is going to look green instead of yellow because it is in the shadow area. But once you get the other colors around it, the yellow will pop quite a bit. It's funny how colors are like that until you get them laid out on here with all the other colors surrounding it, and then it looks more accurate. It's kind of like a mystery. I like that a bit. Just laying in these base colors right now. Feel free to turn on some music at this point if you want some music. I don't want to get demonetized on here, so I'm just not putting music on. The black parts look like they'll be hard to add in. They shouldn't be too hard to add in. I will show an easy way to do it. Or I guess a more simple way. They shouldn't be too hard to add in at the end. I think the hardest part about subjects like this is just mixing the colors to begin with. I think color mixing can be the most challenging part for beginners at the start, and that's why I really wanted to add the color mixing in for you guys, because I know I get a lot of questions, especially on Instagram, getting people asking how I mix colors and how to get like accurate colors. So I figured I would add that into the stream. I know it takes a little bit longer to teach that part of it, but it really does help you achieve the look of the painting that you want in the end if you can get the colors accurate. Okay. And then we've got a yellow down here. And so I'm just kind of shifting my hand around and using the edge of my brush to kind of block out the main part of the cube shape with the color. Doesn't need to be super perfect because we're going to kind of cover up some of the edges of it with the purpley dark color here. Now I'm going to go in with the lighter yellow next. So I'm going to clean it off with a little bit of linseed oil. You don't need to clean it off too much because the color is very close anyway. So I'm going to go in with a bit of yellow. And you'll notice we mixed extra colors, so you could paint 2 Rubik's cubes if you want. You can practice it a few times with the colors we already mixed. It's good to practice things a few times, so you can just put your palette in the freezer, and that'll help prolong your colors so they don't dry out, especially with oil paints if you're trying oil paints. I love how oil paints, like some of these colors have been on the palette for like 3 weeks now and they haven't dried out. It's the benefits of oil paints. You get like a lot more blending time. At least I find it a benefit. I know some people want their paint to dry a lot quicker, especially if you're like selling your work. I don't normally sell my work. I like to hoard my paintings. I have like all my mini paintings around the house. My husband doesn't mind though. He tolerates all of my my crazy painting-ness around the house. I've sold a few paintings, but they've been kind of just to friends and family. I was gonna put like some up on my website last year, and then I just like decided against it because I ended up like not wanting to sell everything. It's really hard to get rid of paintings that you like really love. Even for like a decent amount of money, it's like really hard to sell. I've talked about this before, that it's just so hard to sell paintings that you really are fond of and love so much. Sometimes you just can't put a price tag on them. Just trying to get this yellow out now. I think next I'm gonna reach for the green color. I'll do green next. Do. Okay. Then we've got pretty much just putting on these colors at this point. There's not much to say about it other than just taking the colors that we already pre-mixed. That's why I love pre-mixing colors so much. It's like you line up the colors the exact way you want, and like they just look so pretty like this too. I like to have an organized palette for my paintings. And it's easier to just figure out which color goes where and then start painting. I do find it makes the painting process a little bit more enjoyable when you're not having to like pinpoint the colors while you're like in the actual painting stage. It's a little bit of work up front, but it only took us like maybe 30 minutes to mix the colors up front, and then you can kind of go from there, and you get faster at mixing colors over time. Like I was explaining it throughout, so normally it would take me maybe like 15-20 minutes to mix colors, and then you can get into a painting after that, depending on how many colors you need to mix anyway. And I also should mention that I'm planning on working on some different types of YouTube videos this year for the channel. I want to do more of like answering questions that are common that I get on either my Instagram or YouTube. And the first one that I'm going to be working on, I started recording a voiceover for it the other day, but it was how I clean my oil paint brushes, because I get a lot of questions on how you can clean oil paint brushes without the like toxic solvents. A lot of people use like turpentines and stuff to clean their oil paint brushes, but I have a method that I use that uses no solvents at all, and it's a non-toxic way. And if you can keep kind of those solvents out of your life, why not, right? So I practice solvent-free oil painting since the start, and the solvents were one of the things that kind of scared me away from oil painting for a really long time. So I want to show people that you can paint without all of the solvents that are normally used. definitely possible. But yeah, I just want to like work on some different videos for you guys on the channel this year and expand away from just, like now I'm doing the live stream, and then, I still got my time-lapse videos I'm going to be doing for you guys, because I know that a lot of you like the time-lapse videos. But just adding something a little extra in there, and answering questions, maybe doing some reviews, because I have had some people ask for reviews on certain products, but mostly just like the simple questions and like answering them. Having specific videos for those. So if you are watching this and you have any questions, maybe like leave them in the comments section, whether you're watching right now or you're watching it back. Just like let me know in the comments if you do have any questions specific to painting or art or creativity that you want me to go over, and I can try my best to answer them for you. Okay, the answer questions type of video should be really helpful. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is I just like want to be a source of help on here, because I know how challenging it is to get a lot of this information for free. So that's kind of like the reason I started my channel, is I wanted to provide, that art education for free on here. Not that I've like went to university for art, but it was something that I did want to do, and I myself actually couldn't afford it. And so I've just been kind of self-taught and learning on my own, and, taking free courses where I can in our city. But it would have been nice to have, more online stuff to look to when I was first starting out. So I'm hoping to provide that for younger people or older people if you just want to get started and you don't want to have to do like a 4-year art degree. Because we all know that the school system isn't great for every type of learner. And we all kind of learn differently, so it's nice to have options depending on your learning style. So I'm hoping I can cater to some of that. Okay, we are going to do, I think, red next. Yeah, let's do red next. Go in there. Try. When I'm dipping in the paint too, I should have mentioned this earlier, but you want to try to not get the paint into the area. I'll bring it over here. You don't want to get the paint into the ferrule area if you can avoid it. So I try to keep the paint kind of in the first like 3/4 of the brush as much as I can. Sometimes I go a little too far, but try to keep it out of there. Okay. Got need to start making like ASMR noises in the middle of my streams when I'm not saying anything. Get one of those fancy mics. I actually tried to use my fancy mic when I was painting at the start, and I took that live stream down because it like sounded so bad. Because I'm just like moving around so much, so I can't just have like a mic here just because I'm like all over the place, right? So I found that the headphones, like I'm just using the mic in like my Sony headphones. And honestly, like I use this and then I put like a few kind of like audio, like noise reductions and stuff on top of it, right in the streaming software that I'm using. And it sounds good. It's good enough, right? Sounds a lot better than the mic did because I was just moving away from the mic so often. The mic's been really great for like recording voiceovers though, so I am happy that I got the mic, but it's better for those streamers that are like, you know, sitting in front of a game and like playing and they're like able to stay in front of the mic the whole time. Us painters, we need, what are they called, the lapel mics or the lav mics? But I already had headphones, so why not? If they sound good enough, why not? Okay. Almost done with the red color. Got this one, and then we'll move on to orange. It's starting to slowly come together, so we're slowly getting the colors in there. And like I said, you could paint the background a different color if you want a colorful background. I didn't add that option this time in the reference photo like I did in previous weeks, but you can definitely paint the background like a different color if you wanted to add a little bit more contrast, but I felt like it was pretty contrasted already just having the white background. Okay, we will start with the orange now. The orange is close enough in color where we don't need to take too much red off of our brush. I'm not too worried here about getting a little bit of a mix in color. I'm going to try to get some of the linseed oil off though, because I don't want too much linseed oil. Okay. And now we will go in with the orange. One. And we will also go in and start adding these ones on the top. Then afterwards, we'll go in with the white color. There's a little bit of orange actually on the bright side, so I should put that maybe first before I start with the white. White actually might be hard to get out of the brush, so I'll maybe do blue and then I'll do the white. I'll go back in with white. White can be a little bit stubborn getting it out and having it not blend with the other colors. So I'm going to go in with this orange color. It's like a light orangey pink color. And that one is right at the bottom here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And we're going to go in now with the blue. I'm going to flip this around so you can see that. See as I'm cleaning it off. And now you're not wanting to do like a scrubbing motion because you don't want to damage the brushes. Like I'm tapping it just a little bit just to get a little bit of pigment off. And that's going to kind of like make your brushes last longer. You don't want to be too aggressive with your brushes while you're moving them around. So gentle motions. Same with when you're applying the paint, you want more gentle motion, especially with the mini paintings. If you can do lighter strokes very gently, your brushes will last a lot longer. And now I said I was going to go in with this blue. This blue is really pretty. I like the blue. I think it's my favorite out of all of them. Okay, maybe the purple. I really like the purple too. It's hard to pick a favorite color. I mean, green, I think, like the bright, actually, you can kind of see behind me, I've got my kitchen like that, like bright green, and it's a really nice green. That's my favorite green. Wanted the room that I'm going to spend the most time in to be my favorite color. That's why this room is green. And I do a lot of cooking in the kitchen too, so I spend a lot of time here because I've got the kitchen right beside me over here, and then this used to be our dining room here, but we converted it into an art studio because a few years ago we actually got rid of our dinner table because we wanted to do more of the minimalist thing. And I'm glad that we got rid of it because it made space for more of the things that we want. And we don't really need a dinner table, so we used it sometimes, but it doesn't hurt to, we just have a rug now and we roll it out and we just use a rug instead. And we've got a lot of blue on the front section here. And we're just adding, like I said, in the colors right now, and we can go back in and touch things up a little if we feel like we need to. Right now, just laying the colors down is a good starting place. Okay, and now we will go in with the white. The white is honestly going to be a little bit stubborn, but I have another brush we could use too if I can't get all this blue out. Need to get a few more of these because it's like my favorite size of brush. This is a number 4 Princeton Velvet Touch Josol blender. Josol blender. Don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's like Josol. Hopefully I can clean this enough. Also, if you're going to clean your brushes this way, just make sure that you don't throw these rags out right away, that you let the oil and pigment dry, and don't like stack these in a giant pile or else you'll end up with a fire in your house. Oil painting safety. Because you don't want a fire. Because when it's, so oil paint doesn't actually dry, it like cures, it oxidizes with the air. So the oil paint is actually hardening and the oil is evaporating. But while that is happening, there's a lot of, I guess, friction created, and that causes a reaction with the oil, and it can light on fire, especially with rags if they're kind of like all bunched up together. So you do want to be careful with that. Okay, we're going to do the darker part of the white first. So I'm going to grab this color here. It's actually quite dark. Like finding the room really dark. I'll turn on these lights over here. It's just a very cloudy day over here today. It's like going off and on my my time-lapse video. So this is the white color in the shadow. As you can see, it's like a bluey color, but it'll look more white once we start adding other things around it. Now we're going to go in and grab a little bit of the other white that we made there. Okay, so we're just dabbing that off, and then we will go in with this white over here. Okay, now that we have all the colors added here, we're going to actually start adding the darker bits. I'm thinking that I want to add the darker bits in with another number 4 brush. Dip that in a bit of linseed oil. I'm going to take the darker purple that we made. Let me just see. This brush may not be great for it. Let me see. I can try and see how this brush does. And then we will decide if we want to keep using this brush for it. So I'm going to add the darkest sections in here. And we're just outlining it right now. We'll go back in and add kind of these lighter purples that we made afterwards, but you want to get the darkest parts in first. I want to go in there with, I think, a slightly thinner brush. Where is it? There it is. So I've got a 10/0. 10/0. This one is a liner brush from Princeton. I find it's nice and thin if you want to get like thin lines. So like this is kind of the tip of it. So I think this will be better for making the thinner lines in between. Should be able to get in there a little bit better. Yeah. Just make sure you're loading your brush up with enough paint so you can get in those crevices. As I don't put enough paint on it. And you gotta trust the process too, because it might look like poop right now, but we'll get there. Get there. Promise. It's really all in the details that you add near the end of it. That's gonna add the effects that you want. Good that we're using a liner brush because we can start adding in some of the smaller like edges. You can kind of see near the colors that they're a little bit rounded. So we're going to start like rounding these edges like that a little bit. And we're going to do that on all of them. So it will take a little bit of time, but that's okay. It will add the effect that we want in the end. So sometimes you gotta add all those like subtle little details, and it really brings the painting into a place that you are happy with. I've got the little Rubik's Cube here on the side. Trying to create a little transition on my short video. Okay, stop messing around with that. Hopefully we have enough black paint. And by black I mean purple. This doesn't look purple, does it though? Like I said, it's a really good substitute for black because it's just so dark and it goes really well with all the colors around it. And then if it mixes with the other colors, I don't know, I find it looks better than it would with black because black just makes the other colors like really muddy. But purple just adds a little purple to it. It's almost like it's like a reflection or something off of something else. Now I could also put a little bit of linseed oil or the medium on the black if I wanted. I want it a little thicker. It's a little harder to spread that way, but I personally like working with less runny paint. It also will dry faster too if I don't put as much medium in it. So I try not to put medium in it if I don't need it. There's already linseed oil. Gamblin makes their paints with linseed oil already. So you want to be kind of sparing with any sort of medium that you add, especially the like solvent-free mediums. I was saying earlier that I use the solvent-free gel by Gamblin, and you don't want to add too much. I think it recommends on the bottle actually not to add more than 25% to the volume of paint you're using. That's kind of like the max you want to go with that pigment, or with that. Okay. I might even have to grab a slightly thinner brush for some of the edges, because some of the edges you can kind of see. I haven't used the arrow yet, but you can kind of see in the edges here, along the edges, some of it's like a little bit thin, so we do want to be careful that we don't make the darker line too thick down here. Okay. Got this really thin line here. Now I do have, like I said, a thinner brush even, so I have a 20/0 brush, and I'm going to take that and put it in linseed oil now. So I'm just dipping it in linseed oil, putting it on my palette, so I'm just rubbing it around linseed oil, and then I'm going to rub it into the pigment a bit. So we're going to thin it out just so I can glide it over the paint I already have on it. That's why I said to kind of trust the process, because we're gonna thin out the paint on here, and this will make it so much smoother. It's a little trick that I use. So you apply the paint and then you come back in with a little bit of linseed oil on top, a bit more of the color, and it just like helps you spread it and make those like more smooth lines around the edges. And this is such a thin brush. This one, like I said, is a 20/0 liner brush. Another Princeton brush as well. I really like this this series of brushes, because there's a lot of other companies don't make brushes this small, or at least I haven't found a lot of other companies that make brushes this tiny. And for all the mini painting I do, I definitely need lots of these like little mini brushes. They're a little on, I would say, the pricier side of brushes, but like I said, if you take care of them well and make sure you're cleaning them after using them, they should last a long time. Like I've had some of these ones for almost 2 years now, and they're still going strong 2 years later. I was saying earlier in the stream that I'm going to make a video on my brush cleaning, because I know I've gotten a lot of questions of that over on my Instagram anyway. So So I'm gonna make a YouTube video, like a longer YouTube video. Not a super long one, honestly. The brush routine is pretty quick. Maybe like, a 2-minute video of me, how I clean my brushes and like the routine I go through. I'm really excited to make some more YouTube videos this year. I feel like I've been slowly building up my editing skills in the past couple of years, and I feel a little bit more confident making some of the like longer YouTube videos now on top of the time-lapse videos that I'm already making. So I look forward to seeing what you guys think of my longer form videos this year. And hopefully they're helpful, because that's the whole point of making them, is to hopefully have videos that you guys find helpful. So I'm still just kind of rounding out the edges of all these. Just want the colors to be a bit rounded. And you can kind of see those top ones, they come together more once you start rounding them a little bit, right? Well, the blacks are coming in nicely. Exactly, yeah. I feel like they're slowly coming in. You can see, at least in this like top section, that the blacks are starting to come together, but it just takes a while to really get the color down and to blend out these corners. So we don't want those sharp corners. And then we go in at the end with the highlights on the black areas. So you don't want to add highlights until you're really happy with the shape of the base black color. So that's why we haven't touched the lighter colors, because you want to use the highlight colors really sparingly in your paintings, because it's really hard to go back from those lighter colors and make them darker again. I specifically like to paint alla prima, so it's kind of like alla prima is all in one go, or all at one time in one sitting. And in order to do that, you have to kind of apply thinner layers of paint, so then you can kind of just do it all in one go. So thinner layers, and then you just add your highlights near the end. You can add your highlights in slightly thicker layers at the end if you want. Some people like to do like little blobbed highlights at the end. If it's like a really white area, sometimes, like I said, I would use the white of the paper and kind of leave some of that blank. It's slowly coming together. So I'm adding really, really thin lines along the edges here. I'm finding you can add thinner lines with adding a little bit of linseed oil to your color. So I'm just adding a bit of that. I'm rounding out the edges as well. Making these darker areas a little bit deeper in color. Just touching up everything. Might have went a little crazy on this corner here, but we can fix it up, or we'll add a little bit more red if we need to. Thankfully the red is pretty close to the darker purple color, so. Okay. And these ones, if you step back too from your painting, that sometimes helps to establish if you're doing what you need to do. Some sections. Pretty happy with how some of the curved lines are turning out. I think it really makes it look more like an Rubik's cube. Looks more like the little stickers on the colors. Funny story, actually. When I was a kid, my one psychologist's office had an Rubik's cube, and I was just so frustrated with it, and I decided to take all the stickers off and solve it that way. Do not recommend, because when you take the stickers off, I don't know if they work the same anymore. I remember getting in trouble for that. But I didn't understand it as a kid. I was like, oh yeah, you just take all the stickers off to solve it. That works. So they actually are stickers. Okay. Might have taken a little too much off that corner. Add a little more weight back in there. Hopefully I can add a bit more weight back into there. Just fixing up the white a little bit on this side, because I don't like the angle it was sitting at. Except I have to like keep dabbing off my paintbrush and putting fresh white on, because we do have purple there. Okay, the white can be a little purple. And like I said, you can always come back in, like when your painting's done too, and done and dry, and touch on the whites a little bit more if you feel like they're not bright enough, because it's easier to add white sometimes when the paint is all dry around it. There we go, that's looking better. I'm going to add the very thin white highlights too. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to just add it kind of afterwards, I was explaining that you don't really want to add the white right away, because it's hard to make things darker again in these areas if you add too much white. It's also just easier to kind of focus on one color first and then work your way to the lightest values in the painting afterwards. And it's easier when you just focus on one color. I feel a little sniffly today. I'm sorry that I'm sniffling into the mic so much. Always having sinus issues over here. Okay. So these tiny paintings are definitely easier when you have these tiny brushes. So make sure that the next live stream, if you don't have tiny brushes, that you try to get your hands on a few tiny brushes if you can. I realized early on that having proper tools are really, really important to getting and achieving the outcome that you want. My Fitbit is telling me to walk more. Been standing around too much. Haven't been walking. I think that's why I like the standing desk for painting, because I end up like moving a little bit more. I don't walk around enough. Gotta take some steps in place. I don't really like how that bottom part of the cube is going. My drawing is a little wonky at the bottom. I need to add a bit more black. Like I was saying at the start, perspective is sometimes a little challenging to achieve. It takes a while to really get the perspectives right. I think it's just because the yellow one there is like a little bit off. Need to move this yellow one up a bit. Got to play around with perspectives and getting them like looking a little bit better. Sometimes it'll look wonky until you change a few things and then you're like, oh, okay, that's better. And sometimes you just have a hard time getting it to look good and you just call it a day. You're like, better luck next time. Okay. Start working on this section a little bit. Then we'll stand back and see if there's anything we want to adjust a bit before we start adding in like highlights and shadows and stuff. And I got I'm gonna slowly work on, I guess, still getting these ones done. You'll have to let me know in the comments if the instructions that I'm giving are good or if I could improve on things. I wonder if there's certain aspects of what I'm doing would help a little bit more with your painting. Trying to think of kind of like all of the small like beginner advice in my head and like what I really struggled with when I first started painting. That's what I'm trying to kind of base things off of. But if you have any other ideas on how I can maybe describe things to help you guys out a little bit more, let me know in the comments. Okay, and then we've got coming together though. I like how it's turning out so far. It is starting to look the way that we want, I think. Ah, thank you. It's getting there. I think the highlights and the shadow are what really bring it together though. So I can envision it, what it's gonna look like when I put the shadow and highlights in, and it'll just make it look so much better. But I think I did pretty good with like keeping the classic colors alive too. I wanted to really spark that classic nostalgia color scheme in everyone's heads with this one. Just because I feel like if you get the colors off with this one, it just won't bring back those emotions as much, you know? It's looking pretty good. You can tell that this is the darker area and this is like the lighter area right now. Yeah. Just trying to step back and adjust anything that I feel needs to be adjusted at this time before we start adding highlights in. I might honestly go in with the shadow first before we start touching the highlights on the object. Just switch it up a little bit, play with the shadow. So I've already got, I think it was purple on this one anyway. So I'll clean it off a little bit and then we'll go in and try adding the shadow in now. We said we were going to try black this time for the shadow instead of the purple, because why not? So we're going to start out with these gray colors. Okay. And we're going to keep this part of the shadow open a little bit because in the reference photo it does have a bit of a reflection. So I am trying to make the shadow pretty accurate to the photo as much as we can. I'll come over here, get this part on the shadow. I don't know how well I've been staying in frame for my face the whole time, but I'm trying my best to paint around these cameras. That's the struggle with filming your artwork, is you're kind of like, you're like painting around cameras all the time, so you have to like contort yourself in different ways. Oh, there's my 12 o'clock timer. Yeah, where are you guys watching from right now? Leave that in the comments or in the live chat if you're here. Let me know where you're watching from right now and what time it is. I've had a few people say that they can't join the live stream because it's like the middle of the night, so I feel bad that I can't like do it at a different time. So it's like the one time of week where I could actually do it. But It's right now, it's 12 o'clock right now for me, so noon, lunchtime. So I'm definitely going to eat some lunch after this. Okay. I am going to make the shadow, the edges a little, I'll blend those after. I'm going to add that lighter part to the shadow now. Grab some of this lighter color. And it's just like a really small strip here. And then we'll go back to the Rubik's Cube and add those highlights as well. It's such a slight difference, but it really, it's 2 p.m. I'm in southeastern US. Off from work today. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I guess some people still have work off this week, right? My husband is back at work this week. He only got a week off at Christmas. He didn't take any leave at Christmas. He just kind of used the holidays that were given. 3 p.m. Ontario. Okay. Hey, I used to live in Ontario, actually. What part of Ontario are you from? I grew up along Lake Huron, so I guess I used to be in the eastern part of Canada. Mostly in like Goderich, Kincardine areas where I grew up. I lived in Stratford for a bit too, which is not along Lake Huron, but in, I guess it's Perth County it would be. But I lived in Huron County for most of my childhood years. I have to tend to people's caffeine addiction. Oh no. What do you do for work? I'm always curious what other people do for work. This is my full-time job along with being a stay-at-home mom. So now my regular 2 days off per week. Oh, that's nice. Well, at least you get like 2 days off per week. So then you can have time to do whatever you please. Okay, we are going to blend out the signs a little bit. Oh, you're in London, okay. I grew up very close to London. I have a few friends that actually live in London right now, so back to work and back to school for me. Yeah, work for some small coffee house chains, crafting espresso drinks. Okay. That's what you mean. Tending to people's caffeine addictions. I actually don't drink coffee. I like drinking tea. My husband made me a peppermint tea earlier. I find coffee makes me really jittery and anxious, so I just really haven't touched it in years now. I think I tried it a few years ago when I was at my friend's place again, and I was like, no, still really just don't like it. At least the feeling that it gives me. I don't mind the taste of it, but gotta do what's best for our body, right? Love your painting. Trying to expand. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, if you tune in every week, then you can paint with me sometimes. It's nice when I have some of my followers like do the little paintings too. I had a few followers do some of the Christmas paintings, so that was really fun. And they also did them in like different mediums. One of them did it in like markers, and then another one did it in watercolors, and I think there was an acrylic paint one as well. So I feel like you can kind of do it with whatever medium you enjoy painting with. I do the oil painting, but I feel like you can kind of use some of the same skills and like cross it over to the different mediums. So thanks for being here and hanging out while I paint, because I was gonna paint anyway, so I figured if I'm like painting during the week, it's like nice to have fun together and do a painting as a group instead of just like alone all the time. And I just enjoy like taking like reference photos and stuff and exploring different things, so it's nice to have a community to do it with. Say, never been a real painter, scribbler maybe, but who knows, you may get me more and more inspired to actually seriously do some brushes, acrylics, gouache. Oh yeah, I haven't actually tried gouache. That's one of the ones that I've thought about. That'd be fun. Yeah, you should definitely try it out. Even just try it out a little bit and see if you like it. I dabbled in it for like the longest time before I like finally took it seriously, like a few years ago, where I was like, no, like I really want to like do this. Like it's something I just like really wanted to learn, so. But it's also nice to just kind of like do it for fun on the side too. I love painting, trying to work up to using oils. Any tips for a newbie? Any tips? Okay. So for oils, I would say start off with like a very small palette to start. When I first started, I bought like the starter pack from Gamblin. They have like normally like a little starter set with all of the base oil colors, and I think it had like most of the ones on here. I think the only one it was missing was like turquoise and the sap green. And I find starting out with like a base set and learning how to mix colors. I was saying that at the start of the stream, that like learning to mix colors as a beginner is like a really good place to start. And when you learn how to mix colors, then it makes achieving like what you want in a painting a little bit easier. Also just like going over the basics, like there is some YouTube videos that talk about like the basics, like color theory. Color is just like a really big part of oil painting specifically, so color theory. Also learning about how light reflects off of objects is like a really good beginner lesson to do if you can find any sort of. I really should start making YouTube videos on some of these like very beginner concepts, because they are super crucial to learning about like the different values in painting. So like you've got like the darker values here in these darker areas in the shadows, and then this would be like a lighter value because it's in the in where like the light is hitting. And so like just learning those kind of like basic fundamentals are like a really good place to start as a beginner. And then like I said, supplies, I would say just like work on, I don't know, getting like a really basic set of brushes, the basic set of oils. And I don't paint with any of the solvents, so like don't be scared off if you don't want to use solvents, because I don't use any in my work. And I mean, I think what I do is like good enough. Like you can decide to paint like the old masters with the solvents if you want, but they are, I don't know, they always scared me at the start when I first started, and so I stayed away from them, and I haven't really needed to pick any of them up. So like the turpentines and the mineral spirits and stuff, so I just stay away from those, and it feels like less scary because I'm only adding like oil, and I use Gamblin's solvent-free gel. So this is the solvent-free gel that I use, and so like that's a good replacement. Yeah, it's the solvents that scare. Yeah, the solvents that scare me too. So definitely like stay away from solvents. Like I really don't feel like they're necessary. You can achieve the same kind of thing without them. I had concentrated on polymer clay and little creatures. Oh, I actually just bought some polymer clay at the end of last year, and I made like here, I actually made I have one here. I made a little mushroom. That was my little creation. I hope guys could see it. I started making like little polymer clay mushrooms, and I actually like coated this with a little bit of what is it, gesso on top, and then I started oil painting on them. But I really love polymer clay. It's just like so. Here I have another mushroom here too. I just did this one too. And I was like playing around with the different colors, and I really like how the little mushrooms turned out. So I understand. I like look at all of the polymer clay artists and I'm like, oh, their work is so cute, like all the little cute characters and stuff. I really like just like little things. I feel like it kind of goes with the mini paintings, right? Because you've got like the little paintings, and now I've got like little creations I'm making with the polymer clay. That's just like a fun little side project though. Maybe I'll do a video at some point of me exploring polymer clay. I think I have a short that I made when I was like messing around with the mushrooms on how I made them. But super fun to play with. I seen your Stardew baking. You did well there. So I have no doubt you get the hang of polymer yourself in no time. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I really like doing the gingerbread thing every year. It's been like really fun to just explore different types of creativity. I think that's been like my biggest thing like in the last couple of years is I've really wanted to explore my creativity a bit more and like tap into that like in all aspects of my life rather than just painting or like drawing. I wanted to bring the creativity to like my baking and my cooking and just like little fun things that I like to do. And so yeah, definitely the baking has been fun. I actually did explore it when I said I want to see my original characters scrolled in 3D. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like nice to bring something to life in a different way. That's like a neat way to take your like, little scribbles as you say and turn them into something that like it feels like cool to actually like hold an object in your hand and you're like, I created this like little thing I can like stick on the fridge. Or I was gonna make mine magnets actually. I haven't found good magnets that I can use on the back of them yet. I feel like I need pretty strong magnets to be able to hold the little mushrooms up on the fridge. But it's just fun to see them, like the 3D effect of it just makes it so cool. I'm just kind of like touching up around the edges, but I guess you guys can see that. I'm just like really playing with the edges there. When I get these looking good before we add any sort of highlight to it. Sure did feel great. I kept giggling for days. Yes. I know. My husband was like, oh my gosh. I think I just like talked about polymer clay and like building these little mushrooms for days and days and days. And then finally I was like, no, we're gonna go get the supplies and do it. And my son also joined in too. So he like built like little Minecraft characters and stuff out of the polymer clay. And ended up we ended up like kneading the clay by hand too. So I was like, I think we need one of those little pasta makers because it like hurts your hands to condition the clay after a while. So I ended up getting, what is it, the Sculpey Primo ones, and I find that it's like very firm unless you condition it enough. So maybe I need to try a few different types of clay and see which ones I like. but I've heard the Sculpey Primo, like they get harder than some of the other ones to finish. So I'm like, that might be good. So then we don't break the things that we're making. I'm a little clumsy, so gotta have more solid finished products around me. Honestly, that's like looking pretty good. I think we should probably add highlights before we overwork things too much, right? I think sometimes you can go a little too crazy with overworking it as I overwork it more. Oh, Sculpey Souffle. Okay, I've heard that's like a nice soft one too, so I'm gonna have to try that one out. I think I can get that one at Michael's too. They had like all the Sculpey ones at Michael's. Michael's is a dangerous place for me to go. I want to get all of the craft supplies. The amount of crafts that I've tried in my life, like I've tried knitting and crocheting, and I did like friendship bracelets and embroidery. I even got into sewing for a while. I have a sewing machine upstairs because I thought like I wanted to make my own clothing. So I've dabbled in a little bit of everything, but like painting and drawing has always kind of been my go back to thing. I think that's why I took my painting practice a bit more seriously, because I'm like, I enjoy doing it, I think, the most out of all of the things, but it's fun to like dabble in every aspect of creativity. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Exactly. Ugh. It's just so fun. Yeah. Try not to bring my husband when I go to the craft store, because I think I annoy him, because I'm definitely like a big browser when it comes to those things. Like a lot of the time I won't buy stuff, but like I'll just ooh, this would be cool and this would be cool. It's just fun to like look at all the different things and explore your creativity in like different ways. Ugh, I just love it so much. Did I go too far with that corner? Okay, I'm gonna make this a little bit darker on the edge. You can also add Vaseline to any clay to get it smoother. Oh, okay. Maybe I will try that out. That wouldn't be too bad. I wonder if I have Vaseline. I ended up getting some of the clay softener drops that they sell too. So I still have to try to use more of the clay softener to see. It's dangerous then if he doesn't like to look around the shop. In the bank. Thank you. Yeah, I try not to spend any money without like asking first, because I feel like we have to make the decisions together, right? Like, because our finances are combined. So we have a budget and we have to stick to the budget. We're actually like pretty strict with our budget too, because like I want a lot of our money, to go to savings and stuff in the future. Exactly. That's what my husband always says. He's like, just gotta avoid the store until we have something saved up. Exactly. Until like our project fund has a little more money. Just gotta avoid the stores until then. Okay. I noticed that we kind of like need to add a little bit more yellow into this one section. We didn't bring it all the way to the end. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow in there. And a little bit of yellow over here. Okay, and now we're gonna start adding highlights in. Yes, the coupons. There you go, budget is good. Yeah, I have the Michaels coupons, so I'm like, okay, when I can get the 50% off. They haven't actually done a 50% off item in a while. I need to look for those coupons if they come back. They've only been doing 40% off lately. So on the full price item, what is it? 40% off on one full price item. And so I'll go in and like, you know, grab a tube of oil paint here and there when I need it, or like a brush or whatever. Or my husband will go in and then I'll go in and we'll each get a coupon, you know? Those are good as well. Yeah, they're hard to come by. Exactly. They haven't been giving them out as much. And they used to give the 50% off coupons, like I said, on one regular price item, and they were so good. I could get things half off. But at least 40%, if I can find those ones, are good. So I try not to shop unless I have a coupon at Michael's. Bring back the donut. Are you planning to sell prints of it? Ah, okay. I thought about selling prints of it. Maybe I should sell some prints of the donut one. I really do like the donut. I tend to sell prints of like my 6x6 ones more than like these tiny ones. I'm trying to make more prints of my artwork. I will plan on making a print of the donut just for you and get that up on the website for you. So just keep checking back and I'll try to get that up in the next couple of weeks. So then got the donut up there. I've had actually a few people ask about the donut and then the avocado one. The colors are just so positive. I know, I love how bright like the blue is in that one too. It's just like so fun. Okay, we're gonna go in with this purpley color. I'm gonna actually add a little bit of linseed oil to it. But yeah, for the newsletter too, I've been posting blog posts on Sundays, so signing up for the newsletter will get you in on my blog posts when I post them. And I haven't really sent anything else other than like blog posts out, but when I add stuff to the shop, I should probably try to, maybe my husband can figure it out, so when I add stuff to the shop you get like an email notification or something when it goes up on the shop when I add new items. That would be make a point of that. The questions about prints are a sign. Yeah, I know, I gotta do that. Okay, so I grabbed this purpley color now and I'm gonna start adding the highlight areas in kind of the sections. They're very subtle, so don't want to add too many of these in. Goodness, I just seen the header on your website and that has the featured article. That collage of mini prints looks so awesome. Thank you. I know, I figured I would add all of the, well, not all of them actually. I couldn't even fit all of my mini paintings. I realized like how many mini paintings I did. This year alone, I have done 76 paintings. Like just like all of 2023, 76 paintings. Which like is so crazy when I look back at it and I'm like, have I actually done that many paintings? Like it just blows me away. Yeah, I paint a lot. I realize how much I paint. So I'm glad you like the little cover photo I made. I feel like I just like messing around with graphics. I made that one on Canva. They have a great software. I love their little graphics thing they have on Canva. lot of paintings. I shall return momentarily. No worries, I will be here. I don't think I'm finishing yet, anyway. I also like that you can rewatch these like live streams back too if you want to like follow along in the future, because I've been like posting the VODs up on my YouTube channel so people can like watch another time, and it's kind of nice. I had my cat brief me what you were talking about. Ah, I love cats. We have 2 cats. I was showing my cats last week on stream. They're so adorable. One of them's causing trouble somewhere, and the other one is sleeping on a little pillow over there. Maybe she'll come visit afterwards. I just don't want to bug her. She's so cute. I'm really just like adding highlight lines at random, to be honest. Don't need to go too crazy with the highlight lines. Just kind of around these sections, and they're very subtle. I tried to make them very subtle so we're not getting, so it's not taking away from the super dark color that we wanted. And then we'll go in with like this highlight color afterwards as well. I hope the Rubik's Cube is looking pretty good from the stream side. I'm like trying to look at the camera to see if it looks okay. My husband was saying that the camera's like a little bit like low quality just because of the streaming. Yes, but hopefully it's at least like 720. I'm filming it in 1080p, but I don't know if the stream is coming across that way on that end, so. I will post some photos too up on my Instagram after I'm done, so just check out my Instagram, and I'll have all of these photos on my Instagram for you guys to see the finished product, so you can see like the true colors more so in the photos rather than on here on camera. Okay. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay, now we're going to start to add some of those highlights into the Rubik's Cube now. Very little highlights, don't add too much highlight. I'm keeping a bit of linseed oil on my brush too. I'm going to dip a bit more linseed oil in there. I'll try to add highlights, and as you're adding highlights, just keep dipping back into the color if you need to really make those highlights bright and stand out. Now it looks like most of the highlights are on kind of like the corner pieces. So we're just gonna add little bits to the corner. Like I said, you gotta keep dipping it in to really make those highlights stand out because you're putting the highlights right on top of the darker black color. But these highlights, this is my favorite part, is the highlight part. Can you tell how happy I am about it? I just feel like it really brings everything together. And you could keep a darker color with you in case you do what I did and kind of like touch up the color a bit. And I'm going to add some there and on this edge there. How long do your oil paintings take to dry? So if I don't use too much linseed oil in it as a medium, it can take, to just dry on the surface, it takes about 3 to 4 days. If I use linseed oil, it could be about a week before it dries, so like 7 to 9 days if I use too much linseed oil. And to fully cure like the painting, it takes anywhere from like 3 to 6 months to fully cure depending on how much oil you use. So that's why I try to use the oil sparingly if I can. I find I don't want to have to wait that long for a painting to fully cure, but oil painting definitely takes quite a while to dry, so I just end up keeping all of my little paintings. Like, you can probably see a few of them. It's kind of hard to see like here on the wall. I have quite a bit back there, and I just, after they're touch dry, you can kind of like hang them up and just let them dry the rest of the way on the wall. And I find that works fine. But yeah, oil paintings definitely take a lot longer than any other medium to fully cure, just because their drying process is so different, right? And if you're doing like multiple layers, so like some people, they do like multiple layers on an oil painting too, I should mention that. So if you do multiple layers on the painting, it is going to take a lot longer. Like some artists wait like up to a year before their paintings are dry. Fully, anyway. The top layer always dries like decently quick, so you can still like touch it and stuff, but the bottom layers, like you wouldn't want to varnish your painting. So after, about 6 months, I will take my varnish out and I will put like a top like glossy coat on it just to protect it from dust and anything kind of laying around, just to preserve it in the long term. But I can't do that until it's like fully dry, especially with the varnish that I use. My varnish is specifically like a solvent-free varnish. It's like a non-toxic one, and you can't put it on until your painting is like fully dry. Okay, a little bit on the corners there. Just trying to get that highlight on each of the corners. Just to really get it. It doesn't really have a highlight down here, but I feel like I want a highlight in the corner there. Tone the highlight down a little bit. And that highlight really adds to the overall look of it. I'm trying to decide if I want to add any more of that kind of like purpley color. to certain areas because I feel like we can make these areas like a little bit lighter along the edges here. How you know a painting is completely dry? You don't. I mean, I guess like there is some tricks that people use. So if you stick like your fingernail into it, but like it's gonna like damage your painting a little bit if you do that. But some people will like stick a fingernail in and be like, okay, is the paint dry? I just wait, because on like a lot of the oil paint websites, they say anywhere between 6 months and a year. But if you're doing, like I said, less layers and stuff, then it really won't take the full 6 months to do it or the whole year to dry. So it just kind of, you can't really tell if it's dry or not. So you just kind of have to go with what they say on the paint website. Now I'm using linseed oil. If you were to use like different oils dry at different speeds too, and a lot of the websites, like I said, will say it. Like walnut oil takes a lot longer to dry. All of my paints are Gamblin right now, so I'm not using walnut oil, but walnut oil does dry a lot slower. I have heard walnut oil is nice though, because over time sometimes linseed oil can yellow a little bit, and so the colors will, I mean, with any oil though, your colors and your pigments are going to shift depending on if it's in the light or like how old the painting is. And that's why you see a lot of like older paintings in like museums, the colors are like dull and they have to like restore the colors sometimes because the colors are not going to last forever. Though oil painting and the pigments in oil paints will last longer than any other type of paint, so it will last your lifetime at least, which I think is all most artists care about. So it would be nice to have our paintings last past us though, so I think that's like one of the reasons I also wanted to get into oil painting, because it's just neat to think about like your paintings like outliving you in a way. Okay. Honestly, like, I shouldn't overwork this too much, right? I want to soften the lines, I think, actually, in the edges of my shadows a little bit. I feel like the line is really, really rough on that area. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a little bit of white. Had a bit too much linseed oil on that. Take that off. And I'm going to go on the edges of it just to soften it a bit. Just dab off your brush where you need to. So I'm just using a bit of the titanium white kind of along the edge to really make this less crisp. The line is pretty sharp though, so I think it'd be okay if you keep it sharp. I wanted more like a softer edge there. That's looking pretty good. Now, I was saying also that each of the colors has kind of like highlights within the shadow ones. I'll show you what I mean. I'm cleaning off my really small liner brush a bit, and I'm gonna add I'm going to go back to, I need to like flip this over a bit. I'm running out of room to clean it off. Okay, so you can see, especially in this yellow area here on the top, there's a bit of this lighter one in the dark area. Along the edge, there's, add a bit more white to it actually. Needs a bit more linseed oil so it spreads a bit better, especially for these smaller sections. So I'm just adding a little bit of a highlight, almost like along the edge of the yellow, to give it a bit more dimension. And this is something you can just add if you want to add just like that little bit extra to it. And you almost want to kind of like make sure the line isn't too harsh by like blending it out a little bit with your brush into the other color. So it's very subtle. I'm going to do that with the green too. So I'm going to take a little bit of the green with the yellow and it'll kind of just lighten it that way. We're going to take this and we're going to put this green just on the edges of the green color. So I'm going to put a little bit of that there, a little there, a little there. Then we're going to go back in, like I said, just kind of blend it out a little bit with your brush. You might need to dip off some of the color so you don't get too much on there. And just this little highlight on the side will really add a lot of depth. Okay, and then for the red, there's a little bit of, grab a little bit of white there. I'm going to add it along the edge. They're very subtle. And then another one, we got orange there too. So we've got this kind of like pinky orange color. That one's already pre-mixed for us. Add a little bit more white to it. Need a bit of linseed oil. That color is hard to move around. There. Hope you guys can see that part of the palette pretty good. Yeah. Can even move that over a bit. Tried to make it so it was like zoomed in on the palette for you guys so it's easier to see. Okay. And then a little bit of the lighter orange here too. And this may seem like a little silly to do, but it really does add quite a bit to the finished product when you have just that subtle little line there. And that's how I do it anyway, so feel free to also do the reference photos if you want, like in your own style. You don't have to copy me exactly, because I do mine. My paintings are very different than a lot of other artists, so you can kind of pick an artist that you really like their paintings and like go off of their style. I feel like I never did that when I started painting though. I just kind of like did my own thing. I feel like that's a trend in my life. I'm like, oh, I just want to be unique and do my own thing and just like have my own creative ideas. I actually really didn't base my paintings and stuff off of any particular artist. Yeah, never thought about that too much before, but I really didn't. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit lighter to the blue. Just want to add a little bit of a highlight on the blue over here. Yeah. Okay. I noticed over here that I just want to like touch this up a little bit. Just to make the edge a little bit sharper. Didn't like the highlight there as much. I decided against the highlight in that point. Where do you post the inspiration pic before the live? So I have on my website, if you go to the link on my YouTube channel, there's one that says Mini Paint Challenge, and on there's a little button that says reference photos. It'll bring you down to the bottom, or you could just scroll down to the bottom if you want. And all of the reference photos are on there. And so the inspiration was actually, I was showing people, was this little cube here. So I actually, like this one I took the picture for this one. Sometimes I use like the free reference photos you can find on like Pixels or like Canva, but I actually took this one. So that's the cube beside it. Hopefully it's like pretty close. I feel like I did pretty good job. It's actually bigger than the actual cube. I did one of the mini cubes. So yeah, that's my inspiration. It was actually our son that wanted me to paint in a Rubik's cube, so this is for my son. He likes the Rubik's cube. He's very interested in learning about different like little puzzle toys and stuff. But yeah, I've got the reference photos up on the website and you guys are welcome to use them. And since I try to find like free ones or I like take them myself, like you're welcome to use them. Just make sure you tag me if you use the reference photo so people know that it's my little reference photo. But yeah, thought it would be fun to share some of my personal reference photos because that's like the hardest part of painting sometimes is if you want to use reference photos, it's hard to find the ones that you want. So if you see any of the ones you like on my website in the Mini Paint Challenge, feel free to use them for your own paintings. I think as long as you credit me, you're welcome to like sell the paintings and stuff too. Wait a minute, week 5 isn't up yet? What do you mean? On the website? What do you mean it isn't up? I put it up on the website. Oh, what the heck? Oh, maybe I didn't save it or something. I will put it up right now. I thought I put it up the other day. I keep saying that it's up there and apparently it's not up there. Let's do this together right now because I already have the reference, like I put it up here. Okay, well there, it's up on the website now. It doesn't take me very long to add it. There, can you see it active now, hun, on the website? Just refresh your page. It should be up there now. Keep saying it's up there and I didn't actually put it up. I'm a goof. Definitely there now. I probably just like I've been posting the photo like on like Instagram. There's also like a post on YouTube in the community tab as well. So I've been posting like the reference photos there. I try to post the reference photos like the day before so then you guys can like get a little sketch done beforehand. So that's kind of my plan, is to post the reference photo ahead of time. Apparently I forgot to put it up on the website, so I am so sorry about that. I thought I had it up there. Thanks for checking, hun. I am glad that you checked that out. That's another thing I maybe need to make sure I add to my checklist. I've been making a checklist for these live streams, so I make sure I have everything kind of like good to go, and like, you know, my phones are charged and my camera has enough space on it and stuff. So I've been really making sure that I have everything done for the stream, but I'm gonna add that. I feel like I mean, honestly, like, what do you guys think? I think we're pretty good today. Looking at it, stepping back, I like how this one turned out. Yeah, I think that looks cute. And I think we got all of the like shadows and all of the highlights in that we wanted to get in. Yay! Oh, I'm happy with that. That looks so cute. It's a bit more like bubbly than the original, but I kind of like that, how I made them a little bit more round than the original too. It's like fun and bubbly. Okay, well, I'm happy with that. Okay, I actually have a thank you scene. I put up the how to join the challenge here again too, just so then you guys can join in and paint with me. Like I said, the reference photos should be up on the website the day before at least, and then I try to post like the live stream up on the website like a few days before, just so then you guys can have the notify me button, so then you guys don't miss out on the live stream. But just like turn on, I think, the bell on YouTube, and then you'll get notified when that kind of happens. But yeah, tag me on social media if you try this out, at Megan Josol Art on either Facebook or Instagram. And then yeah, make sure you use the hashtag like mini paint challenge. And then I don't know, I made this final scene. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel too, because then you will get notified if you're subscribed. And I'm planning on making some other cool videos for you guys this year, so I'm excited to like try out some different style of videos. And then follow me on Instagram, because I post like a lot of like daily stories and stuff on there, so you can kind of behind the scenes of everything that I'm doing, or you can DM me if you have any extra questions. But I guess I will see you guys in the next one next week. I don't know what we're painting yet, but it will be something fun and we'll figure it out then. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or night or morning. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.